Welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where three friends, three amigos, three bambinos come together to talk about nerd shit. This week, we are finally talking about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. We're going to do a couple trailer reviews up top, two of them specifically, and then we'll see how we go from there. We might do what we're into, we might not, who knows. But who am I? I'm Luis Gonzalez, and with me is...
Miguel Sanchez.
And Deadpool.
And the team is back, y'all. We're back finally.
Huzzah. I got Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
I'm on the road.
You're on the road. So Ed had Twisters attack his house, and Miguel is on the road. So
the Fury Road.
He's on the Fury Road. That's why he looks a little bit different. Go to youtube.com/@punchdrunknerd to look at Ed. Ed is ready to review Furiosa. What are you, Ed? You're the Praetorian Ed.
Praetorian Ed. Pretty straightforward. I drive the war rig. Nothing much.
You got to go to youtube.com/@punchdrunknerd and look at Ed's face.
Look at my face.
Any thoughts, guys, before I start?
About my face?
Yeah.
Sometimes I regret my choices. Today I'm digging it.
You look like good. Miguel was saying you look like the dude.
I'll start wearing this on a day-to-day basis. It kind of gives me a little more facial structure. Bring
you feel like back, it slims you down. You're like, I like this.
Yeah, if we could wear war paint on, just to go to work every day.
Did you put a little black under your eye, or is that just your eye bags?
A little column A, a little column B, probably.
I have a real problem with eye bags, guys. But we're not here to talk about eye bags. We're here to talk about trailers. The first trailer we're going to talk about is Venom: The Last Dance trailer. Oh, sorry, Venom: The Last Dance. I hate the title, but let's jump into it, guys. What did you think of the trailer?
I hate the title. I hate the movie. I hate the trailer. This is not a movie that I'm running to go see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is peak when everyone's like, oh, Miguel doesn't like Tom Hardy. This is like peak. Okay, Miguel doesn't like Tom Hardy. You know what I mean? Like, stop the voice. Stop the voices.
Well, it's that Sony extended universe or whatever too. It just has no imagination whatsoever. They jammed so much into this trailer too. It was ludicrous. I was first it was the whole army chasing him for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden he's talking about his planet attacking Earth, which it's just that common trope with a lot of superheroes where they can only fight something similar to themselves, like Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2.
How many times
Venom 1, 2, and 3?
Venom himself done this, exactly.
Yeah.
Just a different symbiote version, This time
it's dangerous.
Right. I thought the Venom horse was something. But yeah, just there's no punch to it. Even Tom Hardy looks like he's zoned out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I hated that bit when he's like, "We are Venom," that whole back and forth. I was just
man,
pause.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're doing bits now. Okay, great.
In this trailer, we have Tom Hardy and a little Ted Lasso reunion. Juno Temple and Danny Rojas, the guy who's always saying football is life. Well, in this trailer, he's saying Venom is life because he's in it for a few seconds. What else is in here? Venom horse, Chewy Edge, YOH4.
Oh, Chewy Edge, Chewitel Edgeo4.
Chewy Edge.
I'm reading these notes.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Sorry, I don't have my notes open because I'm on my phone. But Chewitel, I keep saying Chewy. Chewitel Edgeo4. Oh. Yeah, he was in Doctor Strange.
Yes,
and now he's in
12
Venom.
Years a Slave.
Stop. Obviously, okay?
He's been in other movies, but I think he's trying to make a point.
I'm talking about Marvel specifically.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sorry.
He was in Doctor Strange, and people are saying it's confusing because it's like, why are you in this movie? They've already said, at the end of, what was it, No Way Home, they tease Venom or whatever, or was it No Way Home or at the end of Venom 2? I can't remember, but
at the end of No Way Home. Yeah, we see Venom hanging at a bar, and then he gets sucked back into his Venom verse.
And then obviously in the start of this trailer, that little Venom is left over at the bar and they're snacking it up in that machine. And it's my guy who was also in Doctor Strange. And so it's like, okay, is this like a variant of that character? Is this, or is this just like a totally, I'm rolling my eyes to it. I agree. It's bullshit.
It is bullshit. That was supposed to be a moment. Oh, go ahead, Ed.
No, sorry, go ahead.
And I'll go ahead.
I was just going to say,
he was also in Four Brothers. Did we talk about that?
Like, a contributor also is just like this very blurry line of where the MCU starts and the Sony universe starts and where they end. Because they've got so many different stories going on within those universes, and then with Spider-Man, some of those elements coming together, you're like, is he a part of this or not? Like, or is he that character or another version of that character? We don't know. But I mean, rightly so. But it's also just like, why is this? Why do they keep, like, after Madame Web and what was the other one? We got Kraven the Hunter,
Morbius,
which nobody is excited for.
Morbius.
Blue Beetle? No, that was DCU. Yeah, Morbius, of course. Like, call this like a failed franchise. Call it what it is.
I was going to ask, like, compared to the Justice League DCEU and then the Sony Marvel verse, you know what I mean? Like, which one's worse? You know what I mean?
Sony, just because it seems so like
Amen.
Neanderthal level compared to
At least DC tried to like emulate the formula. They took a crack
at it, and they had some interesting, but like the whole Sony thing has literally taken us back to the early days of superhero movies, where they feel like they were made at the turn of the century and on that similar budget too. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look good. The performances are wooden. The dialogue is shite. I don't know. Like, I didn't watch the second one. So
American.
I have no expectations for this one whatsoever.
Check out the Venom: The Last Dance. It's coming out 2024, October 25th. So a little spooky time. So if you want to get scared, go watch Venom: The Last Dance. Moving on to another trailer, Alien Romulus. Now that's scary.
Of shitting your pants.
Yeah. The new trailer popped up.
About the trailer?
What? Yeah. What's that?
Are you going to talk about like what's in the trailer and stuff?
I think we could just talk like auras.
Okay, that's fine. I just still like. I don't want to know. You know what I mean? So if you want to talk about particulars, let me know. And,
well, like, can I give my reaction? Can I just like explain how I feel about it?
Let the man breathe.
Actually, I'd rather you just not talk. Welcome to the Ed podcast. No, go ahead, Luis.
I like how practical this is. I like how practical this is looking, to be honest. There's a lot of like little creatures moving around, and I like how not CGI this looks. It really looks like real, kinetic, grounded and scary is what I wrote here in my notes. They even have an image of Romulus and Remus sucking on that wolf tit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The origins of Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also sucking.
Sucking on a wolf tit.
The doors open. There's an insignia of it, and then the doors open up. So there is some sort of a reference of it.
I do wonder, like, how they're tying that into the alien mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's supposed to be the name of the ship, right?
Yes, it is the name of the ship.
I assume.
So, yeah, I was curious, like, if they are going to lean into that, but it's interesting that they're actually using iconography as well.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a quote from what's his face, the director, that was like, everyone's always like, which one's better, Alien or Aliens? And his mindset was like, I just don't think the audience has to choose. And so I tried to make a movie that was the best of both of those movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. That's good aspirations, Like, let's see if you can really commit to it. I will say, Ed, go ahead, Ed.
No, go ahead.
No, what would you like?
No, I want to hear what you were about to say about me.
I don't know if you want to hear this. I mean, it's not that crazy. just the one thing that took me by surprise is it just seems like they took the alien face hugger just like to a slight. They cranked it up slightly,
but I like
in
it.
that you hang on it, and you'll appreciate this, and the fact that you see the guy like the face hugger, the face hugger deep throats the dude. Yeah, and I just feel like I don't see that normally, and he was even like, and I'm like.
You getting a thumbs up right now?
I was just like, that was graphic. I don't think we needed that,
I think it's going to happen a couple times in this movie too. It seemed like
then later they cut to that shot where you've seen it in the first trailer where they're like the person turns and then the face hugger's like right on him, and then all I kept thinking was like, my throat hurts. You know what I mean? Like they got him right away. I used to think it was the creepy crawly aspect, and now I'm just like, no, it can get worse.
Yeah.
I hope they don't like make it too gimmicky, I guess. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, did the face huggers feel practical as well?
I thought it did. There's definitely all these close-ups too, where you just see like little phalanges moving around. It's looking good. I'm excited for this. I think this could be a top alien movie. There was
one really cool.
I genuinely hope so.
There's one really cool shot. Maybe take your headphones off just for this one quick one, and I'll give you okay. Luis, when she like was like, oh God, and then she like put I don't know who it was, and they put like that lamp behind them, and you could like see the light through the rib cage. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, Dude. That was a cool like new thing that they're bringing into the universe. You know,
that was a really cool shot.
Yeah.
I was like, because we all know, and that's the thing about like the Alien franchise. It's been out for so long. You have to really find those like tiny moments to ratchet it up and show you something different.
I like that they're able to raise tension that way. It's this whole idea of like there's tension interpreted in two different ways. You know, like there's a bomb under a table. If the audience knows, but the character doesn't, it's like the audience is tense. I feel like it's that same type of situation where you get to just she has this light that lights up their chest, and then you see the little alien inside. I think it just builds a lot of new tension into this. I think there's going to be a mix of like spooky scares, like just jump scares, and then real just tension builders. So I'm
ready.
I'm ready for this too. Come back, Ed. So yeah,
and when the same thing about Sigourney Weaver that I was saying a second ago, was that I can't believe she came back. And
I know. And it's her origin story.
It's like, how many times can she be in these movies, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ed, you can get back
now. Okay, we're done, right? We're done with the trailers.
That's it.
Let's go to the feature discussion. We're talking about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. This is directed by George Miller, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Burke, Alia Brown, Charlie Fraser, and Lachie Holm. This movie's about Furiosa, who gets snatched from the green place of many mothers. Young Furiosa falls into the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Dementus. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the Citadel, presided over by who? The Immortan Joe. And as the two tyrants fight for dominance, Furiosa soon finds herself in a nonstop battle to make her way home. Let's do initial thoughts, right? Or how do you want to take this, Ed? I know you kind of like crafted this a bit. You're muted, Ed. This is like a Zoom call.
Quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
Did you want to talk about Furiosa's box office real quick and the reception?
Yeah, I love that. Let's jump into that.
So, real quick, obviously we're into the second week of its release. Natural disasters occurred and kept us apart. But, so opening weekend, Furiosa came in with an underwhelming $26.7 million. And on the Memorial Day weekend, it just beat out Garfield. I think it was like down to like 30 something to 31 million, you know. It was very, very close, which frankly, I thought Garfield was going to bomb. So that was like ultra disappointing.
Wait, hold on. Did any of your kids watch Garfield yet?
No,
we might take them tomorrow.
Okay. Four of my nephews have already seen this movie, but I was wondering what the situation here.
Do they like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they liked it. They were talking about lasagna. It was a good time.
Great.
If you could get Lily on board with lasagna, I'm here for it. I'll take her to.
That's what you want out of this movie?
Yeah. That would be a win. That would be an absolute win. If Lily would start eating lasagna, my life would improve.
It bothers me because Italian food is so gross,
Miguel chose fire tonight, everyone.
Yeah, he did. Let me just talk to ChatGPT. Maybe he could take your spot. Let me get Laura's
Kick me out.
GPT, what do you feel about lasagna?
You got the sun.
Lasagna. That sounds great.
That's interesting. I think that
lasagna, a typically layered dish from Italy.
What do you think?
Anyway, so yes, since then, Furiosa, it's currently after its second week, it's at 49.7 mil. And it's
number one movie of the
just
summer.
barely crossed over 100 million worldwide. But man, that was unexpected, I've got to say. I didn't expect. I was thinking 40 range at least, 40 or 50.
But, I agree. If you didn't watch Furiosa or were I never expected that movie to even succeed, why don't you just hit us up, DM us, let us know why you didn't think it, because I think we all thought it would do better. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be number one, but I did expect it to be a lot better than what it broke out as.
Yeah.
And to hear that it was the worst Memorial Day weekend in 40 years.
I know,
was
it always sounds so
what
dramatic, but that is pretty intense.
Yeah.
Granted, it is an R-rated movie. It's a prequel. I don't know.
It's expectations.
Still weird, I think a lot of expectations were mixed coming into this. But given the rave reviews that it was getting going into that weekend,
and the trailer was really cool. It got me.
Who saw the trailer and was like, "No, I'm not going to watch this."
Yeah, the marketing push with Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy, and the IMAX push, which also I don't know about you guys, but I went to go see it IMAX on the Thursday night, and that whole screening was pretty much full. So going into that weekend, I thought this is going to open really strong, and people are clearly turning out for the IMAX format for it as well.
Can y'all remind me again? Obviously, Furiosa was my number one of the summer. What was y'all's, real quick?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, all right, that's good. Yeah.
Right now I'm feeling good about that choice.
Right now, today you are. Until it comes out, and then it's those are the worst fucking Marvel openings since fucking Morbius. And you're like, wait, what happened to the theater experience?
Yeah. Raise your hand. Who expected Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes to be sitting at, comfortably, mind you, at number one of the box office so far?
I fucked up. I didn't realize
this is going to be a fun year for all of us.
I didn't realize the thirst people had for just large creature or just creatures in general,
monkeys.
What a wonderful day. Anyway.
Yeah, go to our Instagram. You can see what movies are ranking, who's winning right now. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is 1, If is number 2, The Fall Guy number 3, Garfield movie number 4, and Furiosa number 5. Currently, I'm winning because two of you
Luis,
don't have.
Sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
No, two of you don't have Garfield or
If. Yeah.
So,
If did a lot better than I expected. I'll say that.
I was surprised too, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be that high.
Well, that's good. That's reassuring.
Yeah, no, I expected Furiosa to beat If at least, but
fuck.
I'm just going to be preemptively petty, okay?
Okay.
Luis, go ahead and win this year. It's okay. Go ahead.
Well, we
did you win on the worst year we've ever had of our life?
Historically worst year.
Just to show how bad it is this year, to be honest though, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes number 1, 141 million. Number 10 movie, 3.5 million.
Wow.
I saw the TV glow.
Wow.
Tough times. Okay, so let's get back to Furiosa. I saw it in Dolby Cinema.
Oh, nice.
Miguel, what did you see it in?
IMAX.
IMAX too.
Nice. Okay, cool.
It was the laser IMAX, so.
It's still,
it's
PLF's all around.
Made an effort. Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
Great. Now you want to dive into like kind of initial thoughts and reactions and things like that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ed, you were really hyped about this out of all of us. I think you should start off, and then Miguel, you had it as number one, so then you should go second, and then
sure.
That's all things. So yeah, yes. Leading up to this, I was starting to get like really excited for it. Of course, following the shadows of Fury Road, I think we were all rightly skeptical. I think right off the bat, I'm just going to say it, I've already mentioned it, but just for audiences out there, don't go into this movie expecting Fury Road 2. And I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir at this point, but I think that will be an adjustment for a lot of audience members, especially looking for something as punchy and fast-paced and electric as Fury Road was. Like, this one is definitely a drawn-out saga, like, to every extent of the word. Like, it goes on a journey. So, with that aside, I think if you can, like, get past that, like, Furiosa has, like, a lot to offer. Like, it really kind of leans into the weird, wacky world building of George Miller, like, especially after revisiting the Mad Max movies before Furiosa came out. It's just like the weird characters, the weird towns, and how they function, how each one kind of functions, all the gangs, all the hordes and the scrappers, all the, like the Black Thumbs, the War Boys. I love just like that, again, that just world building. And I think it works so well for this story, which we'll talk about more about the characters. But overall, I did enjoy it. However, there were some things that, I don't think this is quite the masterpiece as Fury Road. And I know it's derivative to just keep comparing it to that, but it's hard not to come into that movie, or this movie rather, without making those comparisons, especially with it. 9 years old, it's still very fresh on the brain and kind of rocked our world in the world of cinema, us movie nerds. Maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but we'll get into more of my gripes later. But overall, it was really entertaining. I was gripped the whole time. Visually, I thought it really held up. Some of the CGI was a little patchy to me. And I think that comes with maybe just the clear choice to use more of it in this one. And we'll get into that too. But overall, it was a fun time, fun characters, fun cast. It was nice to go back to that world again. And over to you, Miguel.
Thank Yeah, it was a good time. I'm trying to decide like what I'm supposed to say. You kind of said it all. I was really grateful that Ed kind of told me before I went and saw it, like, adjust your expectations. It's not Mad Max 2. It's its own thing. The pace is totally different, and I thought that was a very helpful note going into it. It's like an hour before Anya Taylor-Joy shows up, and then like another hour 10 or 15 before she like actually speaks for the first time. So it's like, oh, this is like a wildly, now it's a different paced movie,
Yeah.
But as far as like the world building and the lore, why am I talking? As far as like the world building and the lore, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to come up with things that Ed didn't say. It was a very intriguing world. I could see more of it 100%. And I had a good time, surprisingly.
Yeah. I think it is very difficult to not compare it to Fury Road. You go into it definitely expecting that type of kinetic energy. And I was able to rewatch it a second time. And I think when I rewatched it the second time, I appreciated the movie a little bit more. I had a little bit of a adjustment period watching Furiosa. But what I do love is how George Miller really does take, he does do different things with each movie. going from Mad Max to Road Warrior to Thunderdome to Fury Road to here. Like, he really is changing the format, changing the storytelling, changing the style, and I have to commend him for doing something like that.
It's bold.
It is bold.
You could expect the studio to be like, let's fix the pacing on this. Let's like give it a bit more punch. Sorry.
You're 1000%. I think it being a prequel also took me out of some of the tension for this movie, knowing where this character is already going to go to. And, one of the great things about this movie, actually, and it introduces new characters, introduce new stakes, is the mom and the other fellow, like, I guess maybe love interest or person of favor. Those two were great characters. I enjoyed them. Out of a new cast of people, those were kind of my favorites. He came in with a presence already somehow. I don't know. He was very. He wasn't loud.
Praetorian Jack, right?
Yeah, Praetorian Jack.
Okay.
He came in so cool, and I was like, "I'm with you, Jack." And then the mom, I liked her. I think she had a really strong energy as well. She was great. And I also
Charlie Fraser.
Charlie Fraser. Yeah, no, she was great. She was very grounded. When you have Chris Hemsworth, who was a little bit sillier. The second time watching it, I wasn't as kind of bothered with Chris Hemsworth. I felt like, this seems appropriate. This is within the world. And
it helps that you're following these characters that are a little more grounded. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you have a wacky character.
If they were all like that, it would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does feel akin to some of his older movies, of 2 and 3, where it is this kind of sort of wackiness feel, where Fury Road was pretty intense and grounded and serious, where you forget the third one and the second one does have some silliest moments it has some silly moments, and then it kind of reincorporates that in just some of the character designs, some of the wigs, some of the ways that they act. I think that's kind of like my initial thought. I if I had to pick, I would choose Fury Road because I do just enjoy that more. But this is also a fun time and something that I would appreciate.
And I think in general perspective, it is just like a lot better and more in depth than a lot of just your run of the mill action films. If you could call it an action film, I don't know. It's the action is a little more sparse than this one, but like it comes with its pacing. Like there is action happening, but it's kind of toned down. It's less operatic again compared to Fury Road, but like there's still a lot to offer. A lot of like really imaginative action sequences that just plays against your run of the mill summer blockbuster, which you kind of got to take it in its own merit, but so can we get into some gripes?
Yeah.
Like, sure.
Okay, so hear me out on this one. My biggest thing is again, I like the world building and stuff. I didn't come away from Fury Road feeling like I needed any sort of explanation of where Furiosa came from, where Immortan Joe started and stuff like that, because of the visual storytelling that Fury Road does. With your first introduction of Furiosa, you just see the back of her neck with the branded Immortan Joe signal on her neck, and then she's also clearly missing an arm. You don't need it, usually you just don't need more than that. Your imagination can fill in the rest. Like, Immortan Joe is a terrible, disgusting being, and we see that throughout Fury Road. And I feel like that rivalry between those, like that intense hatred between those two characters, was slightly undermined with Furiosa because of its focus on the Dementus and Furiosa storyline. And how Dementus plays into Furiosa's backstory. And I know it probably does come down to certain expectations coming from Fury Road. You kind of, again, with that visual storytelling, you're filling in the blanks with your own imagination. Like, how did Furiosa get to that point? She clearly has just been under Immortan Joe's power for a long period of time. At some point, she lost her arm. Maybe it was because she's tried to break out before and they took her arm or whatever, but she's worked her way through the ranks, and clearly she's a respected warrior / war rig driver. And I feel like that the way that Furiosa ends, it is not as tidy as maybe they think it is as far as connecting those dots. Like, I feel like that hatred between her and Immortan Joe was undercut because they come across more like allies in Furiosa. And obviously there's like a time jump from when kind of Furiosa actually ends, or like where it roughly ends, to where Fury Road begins. But even then, they deliberately make a point to connect the moments leading into Fury Road and into the end credits. So because of that, I feel like they're undermining that intensity between Furiosa and Immortan Joe. You also have the prequel issue of setting up characters that, for one, like you were saying, Luis,
they're not
know what's
there
going to
later.
happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do meet characters who aren't there later. Like Scrotus is introduced, aka like Beavis or Butthead from SNL.
Yeah.
But like that character clearly isn't in Fury Road, but there's no conclusion to his character. But you expect to see
something I'm going to talk about, I guess, a little bit later. And I sent you guys that tweet that kind of like broke down all of this like backstory of not just Mad Max's world, but just like George Miller making this movie in general. But if you played the Mad Max game, Scrotus is the big bad guy of that game. And you know, he meets his demise in that game, and that is all a part of the story.
That's why I texted you. I was like, have you played the game? Because I was going to ask you this very specific question about Scrotus.
Yeah.
And okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil too much because I mean, I think the game is also just like another aspect. And just, I'm sorry, I don't have the tweet in front of me, so I can't credit the guy. I'll try to throw it in the description. But he broke down everything about like how, he compared it to The Matrix, and how The Matrix was 3 different movies, but it was also an anime. It was also a video game. And that's kind of how George Miller, not to say he was like ripping that at all, but he was crafting a story that was so big that it went down all these different avenues. And so some of these characters that you're seeing, it's like there's more story, but you just have to like, kind of like a comic book, you have to be reading different issues just to get the whole thing.
Like, I don't need every character's conclusion, but when you're deliberately tying into Fury Road, I feel like
there should be at least a clear button.
I just wanted, if anything, I wanted more between Furiosa. Like, if this movie was an extra 30 minutes, I would not have minded. You know what I mean? Purely,
really?
just purely if they were going to lean into that rivalry between Furiosa and Immortan Joe, because that's like the driving force behind Fury Road. You know what I mean? It just like that, the running from this awful, terrible guy who, like, it's nice to see him, you know, in like a younger version of him where he's kind of like, he's established himself as a kind of like godlike figure to his war boys already, who are already devoted to him. They're not going to betray him. That first introduction to his character where they have a war boy just kind of dive into the crowd. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. That was like what I wanted to see more of. And then the face-off, like visually, the face-off between him and Dementus is really cool. But yeah, you know, just, and which isn't to say I didn't enjoy Dementus at all, but there is a kind of conflict of interest as far as like who the driving force is behind Furiosa. You keep winking when I say force. What am I doing?
You keep saying driving. It's like they're in cars.
In cars, Fury. Yeah, right.
It's also you go on these like, with respect to like, you go on these like I'm talking. But if you're watching on YouTube, you're wearing this face mask thing, and it's. I get distracted. I'm just like, your forehead looks so beautiful.
so shiny and chrome. But anyway, that aside, that was like the biggest thing for me is I think because of that, it left me slightly underwhelmed as to the lead up. But we can talk about other things. I'm done on my rant. But
that's I appreciate your point here, and I think that's great. Miguel, you were.
It's like less is more kind of thing.
Not to completely throw away that. I completely agree with you. Let me say that because I think you do go into Fury Road thinking, wow, these two really don't like each other. I'm expecting to see kind of that controversy between the two.
And you don't need to see it in Fury Road because they make it so
it's already
clear.
Been established.
Yeah, I don't know. Not that I need to see somebody get branded on screen, but that seemed like it would have been a big deal. Like earlier on, she just kind of escapes out of the wives' cave.
Yeah.
And not much more is said about it. Like, Immortan Joe doesn't recognize that Furiosa is the one who got away.
Right.
Like the bride who got away or anything like that. There's no aftermath of that. There's no, confrontation with Rectus either.
And I don't want to talk shit. Sorry, Luis, I feel like you were about to bring up a different point.
Sorry. I took it back.
Go.
But just to kind of ping off of what Ed's saying, one of the things that I felt was I thought Charlize Theron as Furiosa was, you can't deny that she also made that character so intriguing.
Absolutely.
And I think I before this movie ever came out, before this trailer ever came out, when they announced that it was someone else, that he was going to make that movie with someone else, before it was even Anya Taylor-Joy, it was like, man, I feel like you're missing some of that magic because she is so good. Because that Mad Max movie, you went into that thinking, oh, I'm going to watch Tom Hardy for 2.5 hours and this is going to be yada, yada, yada. But then they kind of pivot and they go this is kind of the main character of this movie right here is, Furiosa. Yeah. And she's so good. She feels like that character without, I guess to Ed's point, without ever having to know anything beforehand. The moment she's on screen to the moment that movie's over, she's so compelling. And so I just loving that character as much as I did, I was kind of I don't want to see someone else play that character, especially in this age where you can de-age an actor and it actually looks pretty passable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Depending on.
They did it with the bullet farmer in this film. I don't know if you noticed that. It's a little obvious, but...
And I like Anya Taylor-Joy, and I'm definitely coming around to her, don't get me wrong. But it just kind of felt here's this, and I'm saying hot in the sense of career-wise, but hot young actress who is on the scene right now.
Right.
And exactly. And she's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's just man, I feel like we're missing a little bit of that magic, taking Charlize away.
Yeah, maybe not that she does a bad job, but maybe it would have benefited having a no-name take the role because
I don't know either way, to be honest.
Lila Brown, I thought was really good as the younger Furiosa.
Sure, this. I kind of like the fact that she was in it so much. You know what I mean?
For half the movie.
Yeah,
and it was that could be the whole movie here. And with Chris Hemsworth being the main actor of the movie, you know what I mean?
You see her soaking up all of that trauma and hatred and that sense of vengeance that comes later. But I forgot that Anya Taylor-Joy was in it until that transition happened. And it was a good transition, but that's another bold swing from George Miller because that could have equally been annoying, but obviously she didn't talk a whole lot anyway, so kind of win-win there with child actors.
And I also just you're talking about the young actress.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. She was she felt like young Furiosa. That's what I mean. I feel like we could have watched the whole movie through a young version of her.
Yeah.
Anyway. Luis, what were you going to say earlier?
No, I was just going to reiterate the fact that this wasn't supposed to be a movie. This is supposed to be a companion piece to Fury Road, the way that Mad Max the game was a companion piece to Fury Road. Furiosa was also supposed to be this anime. Was it supposed to be a series of shorts or series of clips? I forget if that was the case.
I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. I know for sure it was an anime / I think they did a comic book. I think Mad Max had a comic book companion.
Animation. Or a graphic novel?
Yeah, like an anime, not like an anime, not like a.
I know, because he was writing like Fury Road for so long and storyboarded so much of that movie, and then like backstories to all those characters.
It looks like I just found it. It was originally planned to be an anime TV series. That's why it really has that huge, long, epic.
That's so true. It feels. It could be a television show. You know what I mean?
In fact, midway through, I was like, "This could be a TV show," and it's.
But the budget just won't let it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting factoid to share. Would you guys be interested in going through them, like through the chapters of each of this movie?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry. I was writing the chapters and the notes earlier. Did I finish that? I can't remember. I got kind of distracted.
I finished it for you because
I'm
glad that you started it actually. Let's start with the first chapter, the pole of inaccessibility. This is when we meet Furiosa as a child with, I think, her sister. Is that who that is?
I'm assuming.
Okay. They're going out for a peach, and they find these bikers kind of up to no good. What were they doing? Were they stealing peaches, or what are they doing in that shot?
They killed a horse and they were carving it up.
There you go. Thank you. They killed a horse. They're carving it up. They were
a place of abundance. Sorry.
She went, fucked up their motorcycle. Then she gets kidnapped and gets taken to fucking what's his name? Dementus. Thank you. And then her mom comes up and tries to win her back. In the end, obviously, her mom dies, burns away, and that's the end of that chapter. I wanted to talk a little bit about this. I feel like this is really obviously the introduction of Furiosa, but I kind of pair this chapter as a chapter for the mom and the mom's journey of trying to bring back Furiosa. What did you guys think about this first chapter?
I mean, world building, you know what I mean? It was like solid. It was like a prequel to the prequel, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A prequel to the prequel. Two solid things.
An epilogue.
That's the word I was looking for.
You mean a prologue?
You fuck, Ed. You made me look stupid just now.
No, Miguel, tell me how I was right again.
How quickly it turned.
I know. But yeah, like, and what, like really, the imagery in that chapter was really, what I like about this whole thing is they do set it up as kind of like a myth or a telling of a legend story. Like, obviously, the first thing we see is the storyteller, the history guy, the old guy who has all those tattoos.
History man.
The history man, thank you. So, like, seeing these, like, different visuals, like her on the cross, which is kind of like an ongoing visual throughout the franchise. And then you see, like, Furiosa running across, like, the silhouette of her running across the desert and stuff.
It's very dreamlike, almost like you would be wandering in the desert, and then you just kind of have these mirage visions, you know.
And the chase is like scare, like it's kind of gripping because you're just like, you wanted to break free, but it's also very subdued at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know how it draws out.
You really like, because the way that Fury Road starts out, it's just so explosive. Yeah. And here it's just like I'm waiting for the explosiveness, and it just like keeps lingering and kind of playing and toying with me, and they never really linger. I think also another thing I wanted to point out was here's where you also see the graphics kind of not live up to what it was before. There's a shot of her jumping onto the horse, and I was like, oh, well, that's clearly like not good.
When the bike riders are coming into the canyon and she's shooting them one by one.
Yeah,
a little rough.
I did like how when you cut back to one of the bike riders, you just see his little legs sticking up in the sand.
Sticking up. Yeah. The earlier on, I'm just talking about like when she's like she sent Furiosa off by herself. But yes, that bit was funny. The visual gags in this film are on point. Like very almost like demented kind of sense of humor that George Miller has.
Dementus.
We also meet Dementus here for the first time. We get introduced to him as a character. He's Dementus the White for Nat right now. They hang that guy upside down, and you know they's like, oh, you know, tell me where this land is. I thought a cool image was when Furiosa was in that tent, and it was very red themed, and it just reminded me of like a womb, like she's just in a womb. this is this like red tent that's just flapping around, and her mom's just coming in and pulling her out. And I thought, like, this is kind of a coming of age story for Furiosa to just really set her into a new stage.
Hang on, stop.
What's up?
Ed, did you get that vibe? Did you get womb vibe? Did you get mom pulling me out vibe? I didn't personally feel that way. I'm not trying to make fun. It's more so just like Luis thinks about things that I just don't think about, and I appreciate that. And I'm trying to find out, did someone else on the internet say that, and you're just saying that like I do? Like that's what I do. I just repeat shit that I read.
You do.
That was a good thought.
No, I don't think so. I caught it on my second time viewing it because I was trying to really track Furiosa's arc on that first chapter, and I kept just going back to the mom and what the mom is doing. And I guess it was just like such a heavy red tint, and just thought of blood inside of an organ. I don't know.
Luis, I'm sorry, this is a quick tangent. I got to send you the guy on Instagram that like interviews all of the directors, and he'll talk to them, but he's also like a big like movie nerd, and he'll like nerd out with them. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, they connect to him so much. You should be talking to all these movie directors and saying shit like this. You know what I mean? I sent that link about George Miller. The same guy talked to George Miller, and he was like, "Did you come up with this name from this like 1942 movie? Whatever, blah 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 blah." And he was like, "Yes, how did you know that?"
Oh wow!
And like Quentin Tarantino has an interview with him too, where he's like, "Pause his time. I want to talk to him for a minute." You know what I mean? Like, you should. Sorry, side note. You should do that because anyway.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. So we see her demise. She dies. Obviously, she doesn't run away. She runs back to her mom, just kind of identifying what kind of character she is. Somebody who can't leave someone behind. We see that trait reoccur throughout this movie and happening in Fury Road, where she can't let these 5 wives go away. She's just a fighter. Second chapter is Lessons from the Wasteland.
Yeah.
This is the part where Dementus is trying to insert himself as the next person.
Lord.
The new Lord. We see them finding some people, and they have to fight to the death. And then they see this red cloud in the sky, and he meets this war dog, and he's like, "Is this Valhalla?" Kind of a comedic little scene.
Yeah. Oh man, I did roll my eyes a little bit with the kind of Marvel line. He's like, I'm from the Citadel, and he's like, the Citadel whatty? Which is such a common. I was just like, the Illuma whatty?
I don't love it.
Yeah. I was just like, Chris Hemsworth, you just couldn't keep it out. But
that was okay.
Maybe. Sorry, you don't know.
I was going to say that was Tom Hiddleston that said it, but no, you're right though. It's Marvel. It's Marvel coded.
Yeah.
It was Benedict Cumberbatch who said that.
Right, but I'm saying
you're right. You're right.
Everybody in this movie. But yes, visually, Miguel, I think you mentioned it like on the group chat, but the red Dementus.
Maybe my favorite Dementus.
Just like the little, like the fact that he's just like embracing it. He's just like, oh yeah, well, red powder.
And talking about regurgitating thing that I read on the internet, someone pointed out that like it just becomes a part of him. Like he doesn't wash it off. You know what I mean?
His
it just his beard,
more and more as he gets older. Like it's like got that red tint and then the black tint from Gastown,
and it's like his scroll. You know what I mean? It's like the history of him. You know,
what an elegant way to put it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah. So fuck ChatGPT. Okay, like I can be on this podcast. They find out that there's a Citadel, a place with a lot of abundance, and they go into this whole discussion about what is abundance, which is also really funny. They go to the Citadel. He then threatens Immortan Joe and says, "Bring down your leaders." And then we obviously see this moment where the war. So you guys corrected me earlier.
War boy.
Okay. So the war boy goes, kills himself, attacks, and then the midway, I'm like, "What's happening with Furiosa during all this?"
She's just
here. She is. She's just watching, and she's got this thing on her face, like
a muzzle, right?
Muzzle. Where else did we see a muzzle? Fury Road with Mad Max.
You know what, you see some imagery similar to that later on in the movie during the big action scene, when she's in like the front grill of the war whatever the rig. The rig, the grill. I was thinking as I was watching it, the grill kind of, it's a very similar silhouette to the muzzle that he's wearing, and it's a very similar, like he was in the front of the car during the big action scene, and that's what she's doing in that moment too.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a
visual
callback.
No, totally.
Yeah. And they do a good job. Like, she is that kind of feral animal who will do anything to get back home. Yeah. And in that first chapter alone, I think every scenario she gets into, she's using her teeth to get out of it.
Yeah.
She chews that gas tube, which, like, in my mind, that just like hurts my teeth. Like, I just like, ooh. But like, yeah, she does that. You know, she bites the dude. Like, I love it. Like, I love that continuation. I guess
there's a through line of that. We'll get to it later in the movie. But she's also, when she's under the war rig and she's handed that piece that's needed to kind of fix the war rig.
Yeah. She's got it in her mouth. Yeah. Dude, that was good. I want to talk about this scene when we get to it, but you're going through the chapter.
Lessons from the wasteland. So yeah, he goes up, he meets him, or they get into a big old little fight here, and then they realize that there is this other place, the gas town. Is that what it's called?
Gas town and the bullet farm.
And bullet farm. He realizes that he could kind of take over gas town, and they create this whole scenario where they do take over the war rig, and then they almost Trojan horse themselves into gas town. Originally it was supposed to be a fake situation where, like, oh yeah, act like you're getting taken over, and then he turns the plot and he's like, no, let's actually kill them to make it look real as they go in.
They weren't buying it.
They weren't buying it.
They make those distinctions. Yeah, like they're trying to encourage them to open the gates to get into gas town. So they end up just killing the guys that they dress up as war boys, which, good old wasteland attitude. And it works. Which, it is, I do like that Dementus isn't just like a dumb brute. Like,
no, he's strategic. He's got plans.
He's strategic,
he knows
and he might
how to make things happen.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, he's like the idea guy. He knows how to take control, but he doesn't know how to actually run and operate a functioning 1000%.
I thought it was so funny when he saw the red cloud. He's like, "Oh, let's go check it out!" And he just turns his little chariot. And I'm like,
"His chariot, man!
Well, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what that is. You don't know what that is." And then he goes in, just like revving his engines, like, "We're going to take on all of y'all." And he's just like,
at the bottom of a cliff. I was like, What is your strategy
that
here?"
Worst, that is like the least advantageous spot to be in.
Absolutely.
Very bottom,
I mean, very bold, but hilarious that it didn't pan out for him. But but having that, he does have like some street smarts. Obviously, he's gotten to this point where he has hundreds of bikers following him, and killing at will kind of thing for him. So he clearly has that kind of mentality and that brute strength that people choose not to fuck with. But and obviously we see the decline of that later on. But so he after he acquires Gastown, he goes and negotiates with Immortan Joe. And then there is this little sequence that, upon the second time of seeing it, I still kind of wondered, like, what happened real quick. But so I guess because we meet the People Eater, who we meet in Fury Road. He is the owner of Gastown in Fury Road. And he likes playing with his nipples and the chains attached to his nipples. So it's almost like Dementus thought that if you're going to run Gastown, you have to have your nipples pierced. But he has it attached to this detonating device that is attached to Gastown, set to blow up Gastown. Anyway, like, there's like a huge little like toss around, and suddenly it's ripped off his nips, and he's just like standing around, his nips bleeding.
Yeah.
Did you guys follow exactly what the point was? like right then and there. Other than obviously, like he was going to blow up Gastown, but how?
It was like a harebrained, like half thought out idea, right? Like,
yeah,
he thought this was going to be it, but it just was not.
Yeah,
he's like the little kid that thinks he can, like, sit at the big kid table.
Yeah. All of his ideas are kind of half brain thought out a little bit. You kind of see that
more
in
impulsive.
his demise. Later on, where he does take control, but he is incapable of running the way he wants to.
Right. Or he makes promises like you get all the food you want, all the water you want, and stuff.
He seems like a really nice guy, you know. What I mean?
Which is already like a slippery slope when you have rulers just promising you everything that you don't have, and obviously in the wasteland you don't have that much supply in any of those things. So it's just kind of like a empty manipulative promise, but. Yeah, I just thought that was a funny exchange. It got like a good reaction from the audience when it happened, but it was like seeing it the second time. It just like when it happened, it just seemed slightly skewed. Where I was just like, I don't think that really adds up, but whatever. Again, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it was a cool scene, and I love that shot where like the close up of Immortan Joe and Dementus facing each other.
Yes.
And you got Dementus with the red beard and stuff. It's just like cool visual. And again, another testament to just like the cool, intense, weird characters that George Miller comes up with.
We get Furiosa admitting that she is not his daughter. She finally speaks. Dementus says, I want all of these things, and Immortan Joe's like, you're going to get a third of those things, and I want that dude over there, and I want the child who is not your daughter. She ends up going with Immortan Joe into the that cellar where he keeps kind of all of his concubines and people he wants to have babies with. We see that all of his offspring are just half-life mutant-like creatures. And it seems like all these wives can only give birth 3 times before they're kind of used up. Isn't that like this is like your last chance to deliver a baby that's healthy? Yeah. And then she's like, please, I'll deliver someone well. I'll deliver someone well. Like, oh, last chance or something like that. Yeah. But then it's also showing that Furiosa would have become one of those wives later down the future.
And or maybe not even, because Rectus was... on her tail.
Yeah.
Immortan Joe's son, the big dude who we meet in Fury Road, the big muscly guy, I had a baby brother, and he was perfect in every way. He starts pursuing Furiosa and breaks into the vault at some point, and she has this plan to break out anyway. She cuts her hair off and stuff like that, and it becomes like a war boy operating the elevator, the vehicle elevator, or however you want to call it.
Yeah, we get this shot of her. Obviously, there are these bells in her hair that she shaves off and makes a little wig. He grabs her head. She pulls it off. The wig falls into a tree, and we get this cool little time-lapse situation. Transition of the tree growing, and then the hair... still on there, and I thought we would for sure would be going to Anya Taylor-Joy, but nope, we're still with this little girl, and she is managing.
It's a different actress, right? It's like a merging of the two.
Is it
at that point? Is it? I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't know. That's a good point. Let me look it up on IMDb here.
Let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, if you think it was not Anya Taylor-Joy yet, because there is again yet another leap when it is officially Anya Taylor-Joy, but. No, I think it's like I thought it was a different actress.
But. I think it's the same actress, but let us know down in the comments or DM us if you think it was a different actress. She obviously shows herself as someone valuable, and that history man was like, you need to make yourself valuable. You know, if you're going to survive the wasteland, you have to show value. And she does. And they're like, oh, well, let's get this girl some gloves, and she's incredible, and blah, blah, blah. We see her tattoo her arm with the stars, and that becomes a big thing.
She becomes a black thumb.
She becomes a black thumb.
Yeah.
Next chapter. That's it. Then we finally, and then we're already an hour in, and we get to Anya Taylor-Joy, the stowaway. This is when they start building out the war rig, and they're going to say that we're going to make the biggest and most badass thing
shiny and chrome.
Yeah, shiny and chrome. So we're not only creating this awesome rig, we are also building a badass Furiosa at the same time. See, badass war rig, badass Furiosa.
Do you get it?
Eventually, yeah.
Do you get it?
This is the shortest of all the chapters. This one I think is only like 20 minutes, and this is where we have the assault on the war rig for the first time. Miguel, I think you wanted to talk about this, didn't you? Or no?
Underneath? Yeah. I mean, I was just talking about the grill earlier. I don't even remember what the point that I was going to make. Luis, keep going.
I think this is the part where even when this action sequence is happening and they introduce some cool moments where they're like parachuting or like sky gliding.
Oh, that was so cool.
That there were some cool moments, but even at the end of all this, I was like, oh man, the action is still pretty cool. Like they had all those
better, yeah.
Yeah, like there were just some pretty iconic scenes, and here it didn't feel like it completely
it just felt
locked
glossier.
in.
It felt glossier and less practical than Fury Road did, unfortunately. I think, but there were moments where it's just like, oh shit.
That's the thing. There were moments. Yeah.
There were moments, but like the iconography of everything that goes on in Fury Road, just like so many moments like embedded in my mind from that movie, whereas this one, it's like a little less subtle. And a big thing that I wanted to bring up, and especially for this sequence, because I think the contrast between this and everything that we got in Fury Road is you don't have the score pushing it forward. It is so much toned down in this one. Like you could barely hear it. And that's coming from a half-deaf guy. But like it just felt very quiet for what was going on screen. I don't know about you guys if you felt that, but it was just like you hear everything, like just the air and the sand and the wind. But yeah, you know, some cool ideas. It's like just showing the height of George Miller's imagination. You know, we had the polecats in Fury Road. So how do you step that up? You throw a parachute on them and
which
put them behind a motorcycle.
I felt like the polecats are really
amazing.
Yeah, incredible. Just they seemed like there was a lot of them swinging into frame.
Yeah,
and there was just always like one little guy floating up in the air. I felt like if you had like 5 or 6 of them, and you can just really feel like it's a threat coming down.
Yeah, but it felt like it came in twos.
Yeah,
with this one. And the road itself looks so clean, so everything else happening around it just seems, again, just very glossy. Yeah. But you guys remember the name
almost like it would pop in like a comic book format. You know what I mean?
Like in an anime or something. No, Ed, what were you going to say?
I was gonna quickly try and Google it. The name of the little spiral circular.
It was like the Durly Burly.
The Durly Burly. Yeah. That was cool, and like they built it up enough. You know, they were just like, "Do you want to do it yet?" No.
But why did they want to do it earlier? Like, was there a reason why they didn't have to do it earlier?
Aside from all the people chasing them, yeah.
Like, you could have just had that thing swinging the whole time,
right? Like, just
that's true. It wasn't like they were like
blast.
They weren't like you only get one go.
Yeah,
you know.
I was like, just do it.
They have it running.
I liked how she was underneath it, and then we obviously find out that she's not a boy but a girl, and she kicks ass. And we see, oh wow!
You guys know in like action movies when the person does something and you're like, I don't really think a human could do that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like Chris Evans, obviously he was a super soldier or whatever, but he grabs that helicopter, and then like Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious, he like, remember that trailer where the car flips on him and he like stops it? Are you telling me that
Captain America couldn't grab that helicopter like that?
No, I'm just saying.
I'm here for it.
Like, I'm just saying, in moments where it was like, "Oh, okay, you're doing that."
You do it right.
The motorcycle falls off from underneath the truck in that scene, and she's like, "Oh, let me grab that real quick," and I'm just like, "No."
I thought he got caught up in the chains.
Yeah, but she also reached for it for some reason, and I was like, "Are you pulling the chain? Are you pulling?" Maybe she's like trying to whatever. There's a mechanism
I think she was trying
something.
to cut it loose, right?
Oh, okay. I mean, I'll buy that, but I was just like, the more I watched that, I was like, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, you're obviously you lose your arm because you're doing some dumb shit like this. You know what I mean? Like, don't grab at it. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Luis, you were talking about that AI. You got there eventually. All right. So in this big sequence, what do you guys think of Praetorian Jack?
I like him.
Because obviously they set him up to be a big,
yes, I was exactly going to say, cool.
Yeah,
he doesn't push. And he's just calm, cool, collect. Yeah, exactly.
Every time he honked that horn, I was like, okay, listen to him.
It's a good honk sound effect, too. I was here for it.
And they intertwined that so beautifully with the score in Fury Road, but I was a little disappointed that the rolling drums didn't start as soon as he honked, you know?
Yeah.
Again,
what did you think of him? What did you think of Jack?
It's hard not to think of that, huh?
What did you think of him?
Oh, I liked him. Tom, I thought it, they do try and squeeze in a lot of where Furiosa came from and where she got her talents from and stuff like that. But I thought that their relationship being kind of almost muted worked well for both of the characters. Like, he was kind of on his own, but he appreciated a talented hand. And also, he wasn't fucked up in the head like some of the war boys or whatever like that. He was just surviving like so many other characters in these movies are. So he saw Furiosa struggle and sympathized and promised to get her to the other side and prepare for that kind of journey that maybe she wasn't ready for. I thought it worked for this for the most part.
Yeah. Speaking of him taking her, to take her to back home, that's where we enter into the next chapter, Homeward. Like I said, the last one was the shortest chapter. We have this one where they're kind of taking all of these goods to different parts of the gas town, to Bullet Farm. And then obviously we learn that she has this place that she wants to go back to on her arm. And he's like, I will take you there. I will set this up for you. We learn that Dementus is kind of running a derelict type of situation where no one's really happy with him. Everyone is starving for stuff. And he's asking for this meeting with Morton Joe. And they also get ambushed at Bullet Farm. Right, that's this one, right? Homeward.
Yeah.
They get ambushed. There's that whole action sequence, and again, Anya Taylor-Joy has an opportunity. Furiosa, she could leave, but she doesn't. She goes back to save her boy, Jackie. Boy. What do you think of that whole Bullet?
I thought it was, it just. Again, so much glossy CGI.
Yeah.
That some elements felt a little hard to believe, or just less.
It seemed like a lot of the cool shots came in that trailer already. Like the one.
I was going to say, right,
is the one where she's like,
she
turns around and it's like just her eyes, and it's just her eyes.
Yeah,
she's like with Furiosa.
The car getting smushed by the gate. I thought it was, cool bit, but they reveal that in the trailer. And
that's just.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just to tag on Luis for a second. The one thing about you're talking about the eyes is I just feel like Anya Taylor-Joy is a very visual actor, right? She's got these big eyes. She's conveying so much emotion through them. But I feel like Charlize Theron was just not that. You know what I mean? And I just can't imagine Charlize Theron
You're saying Charlize Theron
wasn't that in a good way. Correct.
Right.
Like,
okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, she just like felt like a full rounded character. And I feel like sometimes,
I hear that, but I also,
not good.
I hear that. I hear that, but I think I understand what you're saying, but I feel like this is the youth of Furiosa's like of her character, where she's a little bit more intense and a little bit more passionate. And then as she's kind of lived this life and gone through all of these trials, she just kind of gets a little bit colder and icier and hardened, where we see Charlize play that type of Furiosa
later on. Yeah. Okay.
But I totally understand what you're saying.
What do you think about the demise of Praetorian Jack and then the origin of her armlessness?
I thought Jack was going to die in a very quick, impactful way, and the way that it was just kind of dragged on, I thought was an interesting choice.
I felt very reminiscent of kind of like the Road Warrior. Like a lot of moments, in fact, in this movie where you start seeing kind of like the more inhumane side to this world that they're living in, and like witnessing guys being slowly torn to shreds by dogs and stuff like that. Like, it's like it's not gratuitous, but the weight of what's going on is still there. If that
they
makes
utilize
sense.
a lot of this like dust sandstorm situation throughout this movie. Here they use it to kind of hide his body. They in the first chapter they use it to hide them as they're running away. At the end of this movie, they use it to kind of hide their intentions and acting as if they're going to attack Gastown, but it's all like a farce. You know what I mean? I don't know what it means, but I just think it's interesting how he was able to use dust in a more interesting way this time around than his other movies, which he did for the death of Jack.
He did indeed. And then we see Furiosa escape by cutting off the rest of her arm. So, like, we see her arm get chewed up a little bit as it gets stuck between the tire of Dementus's wheel and their car. Let me ask you guys, when you first saw Fury Road, did you think that was the origin of her amputation?
What do you mean? Like, did I in my mind, that's how she lost her arm?
I always assumed that her armlessness came from a Morton joke.
Like some punishment or whatever.
Like some chopped off.
Right.
Yeah.
As like, you know, because you feel like she's tried to escape before, she could have been a wife, but fought against it so bad that she was punished or whatever. Those were my assumptions, obviously, coming out of Fury Road 9 years ago. Again, with the visual storytelling that you get, so seeing that, were you underwhelmed? Were you just whelmed? Were you just...
I guess I mean, thematically, it makes sense, but I guess I was whelmed, even though that thematically aligned with what they're trying to do with the loss of her lover, the loss of her hope of ever going home, because that's where all the stars were tattooed on her hand. When she started tattooing her hand, I thought that was I thought she was going to have to cut her own arm off to protect the map.
Yeah, basically.
I thought that's what was going to happen, especially when she was getting chased around when she was younger. She was just going to have to chop it so no one could go there. But I think it was just like, oh, okay. Kind
more
of
happenstance than
more. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because it's a big moment. It's a big part of who she is.
It's obviously a cool visual, though, of just seeing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it definitely leaves it. It makes it a little grittier and I guess, yeah.
Do you think that she cut her way, bit her way, pulled her way off?
I mean, given that she chewed through a lot of things earlier in the movie, maybe she did use her teeth.
And he's already got it in his head. He's like, yeah, she chewed that bitch off.
Yeah. It makes sense thematically. I feel like she just pulled it off, like realistically, but thematically it makes sense. How many more times can I say thematically? Visual language, the thematics of it
Ed
all.
was saying iconography a lot earlier too. So
Miguel, you need to get a word that you repeat all the time.
Yeah,
it's all vibes.
There you go.
Vibes, there you go. Yeah, I thought her losing her arm was just vibes.
Vibes, you know.
She stumbles her way through the desert, and then we pull back, and lo and behold, we finally see our boy Mad Max Saga hanging out.
Yeah, the one and only.
Oh, I love a Mad Saga. Yeah,
he's over there. Did you guys think that he saved Furiosa, or that he was just watching the whole time?
I thought he was just a passive observer. I know some people thought he dragged her there. Yeah. But I think, again, that just kind of contradicts Fury Road too much.
Miguel?
No, I agree. Yeah. Do you disagree?
Gut reaction when I saw it, I was like, oh. Gut reaction when I saw it, I thought, oh, he just kind of helped her.
Dragged her.
Yeah, dragged her to the Citadel. Because
took her to the cannibals.
Yeah, I don't... Oh. It is weird because it's like, oh, wouldn't you recognize each other later in the movie? Yeah. But also, how did she get there? How did she get back to the Citadel? She was literally so far away,
but so close. But here's the thing: this also ties into the whole kind of mythology of the mythology aspect of how they're telling the story. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we don't know what happened to Furiosa. She took off her arm and she went across the wasteland. Yeah. And she just made it back without an arm. And like all they knew is when she got back and was like, oh yeah, Dementus is coming.
Well, it could have been.
Ed gets so offended, by the way, if you ever just even get close to saying like, are you from Australia? Yeah. Ed's like, I'm from England. All right. But that Australian accent was, I'm sorry, too good. All right. Yeah. It's impeccable.
It's impeccable.
There it is.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was so far-fetched. But again, like with the way that this story is told, I don't think it would be too far of a stretch to they're building the mythology around Furiosa. She traveled the wasteland to make her way home without an arm. Could have been
the cannibals dragging her back.
Exactly.
Back to the,
yeah, they just found a victim and got her the rest of the way, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think he was just a passive observer.
All right. Personally. So she gets there, and then they do this whole out war. They're like, oh,
the 40-day war.
The 40-day war. He's coming after you. And so they do the war, and everyone dies, right?
And then it's the final chase.
The final chase.
And what's that last chapter called?
Beyond Vengeance.
Ooh, Beyond Vengeance. You get a bit of vengeance and beyond.
Sounds like that guy from Flight of the Conchords.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What happens here?
Dementus is fighting a losing battle.
Right.
He and the Immortan Joe's sons are trying to chase him into the desert, and then in comes Furiosa with her new mechanical arm and sniper rifle, and the car with missing a wheel that they tie a log to. I thought it was another great gag. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a great gag. Yeah.
Yeah. Hilarious. And then she takes Scrotus's car and chases Dementus down into the desert.
The party splits up into different people. She takes him down, and then one of these people swaps with Dementus, axes Dementus, and then he goes down the quicksand, which is a callback to, I think, Road Warrior?
Thunderdome.
A Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Another callback to Thunderdome, which I forgot to mention, was the very beginning of this movie. She has this whistle that has a piercing sound, also a tool that was used in Thunderdome.
That's true, yeah.
Crazy. He really liked Thunderdome because in Fury Road, they also had the guitar guy had those like bouncy
the bungees,
which is also in Thunderdome as well. And I feel like some of these characters with their crazy hair could have been from Thunderdome as well. So
100%. Like the wackiness of the characters. You guys know that the Cyclops in this movie, the guy with the weird wig and he had only one eye.
Yeah.
He plays Immortan Joe too.
That's what he was. He looked really familiar to me. Yeah.
So that guy got cast as the Cyclops guy, and they were trying to, because obviously the original actor who played Immortan Joe died. But obviously he was going to be younger in this movie regardless. So the actor, Lackey Holm, he was cast as the Cyclops guy, but he kind of brought his case to George Miller saying, like, I think I could do Immortan Joe too. Mm-hmm. So let me give it a try. Because at first they were trying to do like digital de-aging on a different actor to try and make him look more Immortan Joe like. So they gave him a try and it worked. So good for him. He got double billing in one movie.
That's money right there, you know. And if they make more, it's like he's like, I'm here.
I'm Immortan
Joe, a Mad Max Saga. It's the same guy. And then we have the final face-off where it's basically like I'm like in the theater. I'm like, how's this going to go down? And then this thing drags for a few minutes of her like, I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to kill you. Then he died, but he didn't really die. And then this is what happened, but didn't really happen. And this happened. And then he's here.
And what did she do to him? I don't know. I planted a tree into his balls.
Yeah.
It was, again, it's a movie that plays with the mythology of the whole.
Yeah. Going into it, I felt like it was really like, how are you going to land this plane? I feel like it's very difficult to do. And then they were playing around with some options before they committed to something. But even then, they didn't commit to anything. It was... I felt okay about it. I was whelmed about it.
And then it kind of just like flash, Fury Road.
Yeah.
And that's where I maybe struggled the most with this film, I think.
Do you think that there's a longer gap between well, yeah, I guess there is.
Between Dementus and that?
Yeah.
Yes, I think a few years, in fact. Because they clearly allude to Furiosa growing up even more and kind of like a glimpse of the Charlize Theron version of that character towards the end. And
if this movie did
five wives that are definitely not the original cast.
No, they're not. They're not.
I was like, no subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah. Do you think if this movie was successful that they would continue to do Furiosa 2, a Mad Max Saga, where like we continue her journey and seeing...
That's me. That's why I could have done with an extra, like, maybe 15 minutes of just seeing that rivalry start to stew between Immortan Joe.
I think that's the thing. It's like, I understand the need of having a new villain, but did I need a new villain for this prequel? Like, couldn't we just stuck with Immortan Joe the whole time and see
you really could have, or you could have had like that kind of handoff.
Yeah, midway through.
Still had like the Dementus revenge story, but like she clearly makes a choice to go with Immortan Joe, thinking that she'd be better off.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly, Immortan Joe is just as terrible a person, or that's what we're led to believe in Fury Road.
He seems like a more competent and like understanding leader that just happens to want to, have all these lives. But we don't get to see
terrifying.
That.
Yeah. I mean, he's got like hundreds of war boys at his beck and call, and then a room full of wives, and if they don't produce an heir, he's gonna milk them.
Right?
It's kind of. But yeah, so I think it's the ending that really I like the world building. Like I said, there are some good action sequences, but man, like I just wonder what this movie could have been with just like a score, like more of a memorable score. I don't think there's anything that really stood out as far as that goes. But it just felt so much more muted. And again, like he was saying, he has different approaches for each one of these stories, and I think that's clearly deliberate. But could also be considered jarring, especially coming from something that like Fury Road, where his vision was so fully realized and everything had a purpose. And he, again, I'm going to use like visual storytelling, like you didn't need explanation, less was more. You were already invested with the characters from what you got. This wasn't like an origin story is. I mean, they rarely make a good case for an origin story for anybody in any franchise, you know.
Chris Hemsworth, did we think that? What are your thoughts on Chris Hemsworth as
Miguel? You haven't said anything in a minute. Go.
I liked him. I thought he was. I came into it thinking I'm gonna hate this guy. Like, okay, we got Chris Hemsworth,
ready, steady.
He's doing, and he's playing.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. He's hamming it up. It's a bit, oh my God. But actually, like, I felt like he really fit into the world. And I felt like juxtaposed to some of the other characters. He was really nice. I was surprised at how much I liked him in this movie.
Mm-hmm. It was on the edge. It could have been, if it pushed a little too much more, then it would have been.
Yeah. 100%. Well, especially because, like, he just said, a few weeks back that, I kind of fucked up Thor, Love and Thunder. Like, I was just like doing too much. Like I was trying too hard.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh man, then he came out with this one and he's going to do more of the same. But I just felt like, it kind of fit in this world a lot more believably.
Yeah.
It
worked. It's that theatricality and kind of twisted mentality that works, like especially with the villains of the Mad Max world.
Yeah. I like that he was manipulative in a much more subtle way. You know what I mean? Like that bit early on when she's still a little girl and he hands her the teddy bear or whatever, and he's like, this belonged to my kids, and they died, and and then later he's like, I would do anything to protect you or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like you're really only out for yourself, and you'll tell anyone, young or old, whatever they need to hear. And same with I'll give you food, I'll give you water. Like you were really just trying to put yourself as close to the top as possible by any means necessary. Yeah. And I thought that was, I thought he played that pretty well.
Did you guys buy the, the distanced familiarity between them as the story went on? Like all of a sudden, kind of like with how she, Morton Joe acquired her to be a wife, and then nothing was really said about that later after she escaped.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that time jump and the fact that he didn't recognize her at all, even when he captured her with Praetorian Joe or Jack, that like you don't, like, did you feel like that?
I think that's the moment when I felt like, oh, this is a show. Because there is a gap between those two times where you just feel like, I think people could forget people. And I don't think he knew her enough to remember her years later.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And like we as the audience are seeing them back to back, minute to minute, and it just doesn't read the same. Like there was a very early on in Game of Thrones, Robert Baratheon talks about this like great love of his past, and he's like, I can't even remember her face anymore. You know what I mean? And that's more that is a very believable thing that could happen. You don't have the internet, you don't have a photo, you don't have this.
100%. Yeah. Okay, just curious.
But to Luis's point, like it could be hard to feel that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and everybody kind of loses their mind in the wasteland, and I feel like they clearly point to that with Dementus, especially when he starts spiraling towards the end.
I expected that one guy to get a little bit more consequence. The big buff guy, the big buff son,
Rectus. Well, he gets it later on in Fury Road, so they couldn't really do a whole lot with that.
I guess so. But he's like, I lost her. Who is that? I don't know. Like, there was that like little comedic bit when he loses Furiosa. Is like, what are you doing? I'm not doing anything. All right, where do we place it in the Mad Max franchise? I ranked it last time.
Well,
I put it smack dab in the middle.
I've only seen two of them, so
So 5.
I have it after Fury Road and Road Warrior.
Yeah.
But I have it above Thunderdome and Mad Max.
I think I have it this one, Fury Road, Furiosa, Road Warrior, and we just a little different that way.
Sure. Rewatching Road Warrior, it just hits so hard sometimes. Yeah. Like it's gritty. That is like the bare bones gritty, shitty, like wasteland. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this. Like I said, to all its for all its faults, it still is so much better than the typical shit that hits theaters these days. You know, it's interesting. It has fun characters, like kind of wild, fucked up imagery, which just comes with George Miller, really. So, you know, if it's an excuse for him to keep making movies, then great. Do you think we'll see another Mad Max, or do you think this is it?
Nope.
No, I don't think
so. Sorry, box office. You're done.
Yeah, unless this like kills it in the Oscar, world.
That's his last chance.
Even then, I feel like it's got some movies beating it this year, like Dune Part 2, as far as like on a technical standpoint, like visuals and production design. You gotta look.
The only way I see this coming back is he does a video game with
Hideo Kojima.
Hideo Kojima that does really well, and then they're like, "We want a movie now," and then it's
like within the next year.
No, it's not unlikely because Kojima's also like doing 2 or 3 other video games right now. So
who is this guy?
And just off the podcast, just do a little Googling. Like, educate yourself, please.
Oh, just say a game he did.
He's like the Nolan of video games. He's like.
It sounds like you can't even name a movie.
Shut up. Death Stranding was his thing.
Okay.
He was a part of a whole different studio, and then he like branched off and became his own thing because he was like such a creative, and he felt like he wasn't getting the chance and the opportunities to make games the way he wanted to. And then his big one, first one by itself was Death Stranding. That was so popular. He got a second one.
He's making games that's like, it's not a game, it's something else. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's something else. Yeah.
Cool. Good for him. I like him.
You don't play video games anyway, so shut up. What do you
no, you did play, you said you played the Mad Max game. Didn't you say that?
I
you
did.
Played the Mad Max? Yeah.
Yeah. I completed it too.
But I got to go back and replay that one because that's
it's
on
a good one. I mean, that's the kind of game I need and enjoy.
I'll be talking
Drive the Wasteland.
I'll be talking more about that game in the next week or so, like when I get back from Texas. So
Texas.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, the 5th iteration of a Mad Max Saga.
That's right.
So I'm watching the show Psych.
No, y'all do it on your own. I'm in the most uncomfortable chair.
No,
the most uncomfortable room.
I have one more left. We should just crack them and then get.
It's his birthday, Miguel.
I don't. Luis, for your birthday, I would gladly hear what you want to talk about.
No, I'm kidding. I don't even. I don't know. I know Acolyte came out. None of us have seen it. I'll probably talk about it next week.
It came out tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah, we're recording on June 4th.
It came out a few nights ago, Ed.
I only just got Wi-Fi back. Forgive me.
Yeah.
No, Ed. It's...
What?
We're recording. Look, let's just be transparent. We're recording June 4th. The episode came out today. I mean, obviously, this episode releases later.
I got you.
Thank you.
And what else, guys? What do you
Luis, I mean, I hope you had a happy birthday, Luis. You know what I mean? Like, it was... it sounded like a great time.
Yeah.
Why are we talking in past tenses now?
Because
I know about like when it comes out, but we could talk about his birthday in the present tense. Good God.
No, I know. It's okay.
Okay, so am I not opening this other one or no?
Do it for yourself.
You can. For
myself, I don't want to be.
Well, I cleared.
I don't have any more beers
that I was drinking. Yeah,
and I have to sneak more up here, otherwise my mother-in-law will start judging me. So.
Isn't she in bed?
No.
No. Retire.
All right, well, tune in next week where we're going to talk about
Bad Boys Drive or Die. One of those.
That's the name. Drive or Die. Fury
I can't
Road.
promise I'm going to watch that movie. I could watch Hitman.
Wait, what?
Hitman?
The Glenn Powell movie?
Oh, yeah, I do want to watch that, actually.
Okay.
That fucking Dick Linklater or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. I do want to watch that, though.
Okay, well, I mean, it's easy. Like, Miguel doesn't have to go to the theaters for that one, so I figured.
Bless you.
Let's talk about whatever.
I'm going to watch Acolyte.
Yeah.
That's good. That was pretty good.
I was kind of impressed by myself. I couldn't believe I pulled that off. You go, Miguel. You say something in Australian.
Oh, fuck. Schlanger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Schlanger. Yeah.
I could say Neva.
All
right, well, tune in next week where we talk about stuff. My name is Luis Gonzalez, and with me is
Miguel Sanchez.
And Ed Bull.
And until next time, later, Gators, and we'll see you at the movies. Did you guys listen to last week's episode? That's what ChatGPT said. So I'm just...